All right, so we're live. You're welcome to the day 4 of the Intentional Parent Fathers Conference. We're live for the panel discussion. We have in the studio Ebuka, and then we are also going to be joined by TJ. TJ is also here, right in the
Yeah.
studio with us. Thank you so much, sir. We appreciate you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
These are my ogas right in the studio. I am so grateful. It's been an amazing 3 days, past 3 days. Different kind of conversation happening around
Mm.
father. And just before we logged on, I was just having a conversation with Ebuka, and we were talking about fatherhood, we were talking about rape, and I was saying that it's okay for all of us to just go on social media and shout, and that if we do nothing, it means that nothing will ever change. And that we
Mm.
need to start this conversation so that people will understand that these things are key. So you're
Mm.
welcome. Before people start to join us, I'll just say a bit thing or two. We already have viewers here. I'll just say a thing or two about the people, our discussion panel discussion people, men who are already here. We just read out one or two stuff about them before we just go ahead. So a bit about Ebuka. Ebuka Obika Ede is a youth boys development coach, and is a founder of the Save the Boys initiative. He's a teens coach, he's a boys mentor. He does coaching, training for boys and all that, leadership, purpose. He sees to the total development of boys and advocates for their well-being. He's satisfied. He has certifications in emotional intelligence, organizational leadership, and he runs a leadership club for boys, and also run an online community on Facebook called Men Connect Mentoring Community. For over a decade, he has taught teenagers, youth in unique, practical, and humorous way to learn personal responsibility and self-leadership. He's a speaker at youth conferences, teens churches, campus fellowship, schools, and he also offers consultancy services for individuals and family. As a way of sharing feedback with his experience with the boys, he convened the Boys Leadership Academy, the Total Men Online Summit, and the National Boys Conference as a platform to train boys and men on how to live positive and productive lives. His core areas are leadership, sexual purity, breaking addictions, handling peer pressure, spiritual maturity, finding purpose, and taking responsibility. His first book, Boys to Men, is on his way to hit the bookshelves soon, and he's happily married to his amazing wife. I can testify to that. Ruth. And they have a girl child that does not look like them also. Than the both of them. So you're welcome, Ebuka. Thank you for joining us. It's been an awesome time so far, and I'm so honored that you agreed to do this for the Intentional Parent Academy. Then we have in the studio my own very boss,
Thank
Oga
you.
TJ. In fact, I don't
The
know what to say.
boss.
So, when you talk about teens mentoring in Nigeria, and you
Mm.
look for the names, you count one, you count two, you don't find TJ's name there, then you are not
Ah,
in Nigeria.
I'm
There's
telling
something
you.
wrong with that thing. You can see that I'm not reading from a book. Talking from my head and my heart. If you're looking for a man who has passionately led teenagers over I have friends that TJ had mentored. What? But the day I found out that some of my friends, it was their team mentor, I was like, Chineke Name. From TJ has done this for so long and have led, TJ, am I right? 25 years? Counting?
22. 22.
22 years. In fact, I don't even know where to start from. 22 years. You can see that that's why I'm not reading from any book. What exactly are you going to be reading? And leaving the others. Welcome here, Mr. Chinituji. Let me tell you how I met this awesome man. Somehow I met Chidi TJ online, and somehow we just connected. He's spoken on different platforms for the Intentional Parents Academy. He was on our annual conference last year as a speaker, and it was mind blowing. And we've also been able to done a lot of things together as well in the background. You will get to hear a lot about it, pretty soon. And somehow it happened that I was connected to TJ through some friends who also he had mentored in the past, and I was wondering, who is he? TJ is also happily married with children, adorable children, with his wife. I don't know how she agreed to marry him, Sha, but it's fine. But it's fine. Yeah. And then how I met Ebuka as well. I met Ebuka also. I just saw, this young man, do a lot online. And then all of a sudden, one day I saw him appear in my office. And just 2 minutes into the conversations that we had, I knew that this guy had a passion to rescue the boy child. I just don't know how, but I just knew that there was something so different, about him. But one of the things that caught my attention was the support that he had from his wife. Awesome. And I'm putting out a shout out to Ruth. You are amazing. And we appreciate you. Thank you so much to you as we go on this TIP Academy Fathers Conference. I don't know if we've all followed them throughout the 3 days that we've been here. It's been power packed back to back, starting from Pastor Siri, who broke. In fact, Pastor finished, and I was on the phone with him for 1 hour when he was done with the session. And in fact, I couldn't just put a lot together. I was like, what? By the time we were trying to round up with Pastor, we had Akin Robo come in here and finish the work with his so calm nature and just piercing the minds of fathers on the second day. And yesterday night, this place literally caught fire. We had Taiwo Akinlami come here to as in fact, when he finished, I couldn't sleep. I was processing a lot of the things that he said, and I was not sleeping well by the time he was done. And I'm sure that has been a lot for a lot of the people. TJ, what do you think is the most challenging thing we have as regards having men get involved in parenting? You haven't just only done team mentoring. I also know that you've been a father for so long. At least you understand what it is. You've been a father to toddlers, to teen, pre-teens, and all that. And then mentoring teenagers also have given you an opportunity to father teenagers as well. So what do you think is our major issue as regards getting fathers involved, in the whole parenting system?
Okay, thank you so much, Wendy. It's great to connect with you here, Ebuka. And good morning,
TJ,
to everyone watching. I'm excited to say, while we're talking about fathers here, I'm in my village, with my father. So and it's interesting that I can go live my village. For those of you who village people are worrying, there's no village people here. Okay, so now that question is very, very interesting, and somehow it also dicey because there is no one major challenge for every man, though there are challenges. What may be a challenge for me may not be a challenge for Ebuka, who's up on my screen here, and may not be a challenge for your husband, because we all have different upbringing. However, some common things, maybe just mention two. Common things will be first, our orientation. My father, growing up in the village where I am, okay, could only but show love in the best way culture taught him to. He could also then stretch himself to show love in the way he's a Christian, he's a pastor, and then the scripture, commands us to love one another. He could then, in his own understanding, show love to me. And I'm grateful for it because it had made me who I am. However, in showing love, culture, cultural orientation intercepts, the reality we see. So the mindset in which he grew up, the environment in which he grew up, conditioned how he raised me. And one of the key things in that environment is a lack of emotional response to love. So a lot of men do love, but they don't have the right emotional expression or connect when loving. Then it puts the subject, the subject which here is our child, at par with the father, because in the child's dispensation, love is beyond provision. Okay, so a father provides, he pays school fees, he feeds, gets money, he pays the rent. He has done amazingly well because that's what culture told him what becoming a man is. But right now, a child needs you in their space, needs your attention, needs the time. But so there's that challenge of expressing what love is to the next generation because they cannot even speak their language. Okay, so that is one major thing. Another thing is, which I also pull from this, is we don't really know how. Okay, because we know how, then we will do better. I will always say, when you know better, you do better. So a lot of fathers also don't know how to do what sometimes they really want to do. So it's easy to talk about absence of fathers in families. It's very easy to point the fingers, but how many fathers really know how to be present when all they knew growing up is making provision irrespective of the condition? So a lot of men want to father, but they don't know how to do it. So there's the issue of, there's the issue of cultural orientation. Then there's the issue of ignorance. They don't know how to do it. So so by default, what we do now, we now fall back into cultural orientation, or we could say social confirmation, which is then doing what you see others do that is popular. So we then see ABC, they do this for their child, forgetting that the dynamics of our own home is different, and then we go on to model such, and it becomes disastrous in our own, society or our own nation called a home. So those are just two key things out of so many that I think Ebuka can add to that I'll mention this morning.
Thank you so much, TJ. As in fact, I think that's the root cause, of where we're coming from. Yesterday when Taiwo was speaking, he was talking about going back to where our childhood, being able to take stock of what happened there, and then before we can get to the point where we are now saying, okay, yes, we are here. But what happened there? Can we correct it with the things that we need to do here in the today? So Ebuka, I'd like to share what do you think can be done better? What do you think that fathers can and TJ mentioned something very key, and which I would also want to merge with what other speakers have said in the past 3 days. They've said that intentions. In fact, it was the second speaker that said the intentions are okay, but the truth of the matter is that intentions are not enough. When intentions are not matched with skills, then of course what you're doing, with just your intention will come out as null and void, because it's not the intention that is the issue, it's the result of the intention. So what do you think, Ebuka, that it's something that can be changed as regards skills, as regards what to know? Because obviously TJ was very precise. There's what to know to be able to father, and that's why we are here, really.
Thank you very much for this time. I really appreciate you, and I appreciate every father that's made it to this conference. In fact, whenever I'm watching and I see fathers in the conference, I'm excited because men hardly go for programs like this. If it's a women's conference, you will see thousands of women here. But for fathers that made it to this conference, I'm so excited and I'm happy with them. It shows that they're intentional and they want to change, because that's what I've seen around men. So many men think they really know that issue we are having, but most men don't really know, and that's why we're having the crisis that we see in the family. So I appreciate every father that joined for this conference. Just like TJ said, I've seen fathers who feel their children should they should parent their children just the way they were parented. I've seen fathers who feel this boy's head has to be broken for him to learn. If there's no scar in the head, if I've not broken his head with bottle or with wire or with something, then he can't learn. Because they say that's the way my father dealt with me. If not that my father dealt with me, I wouldn't have been the better person today. And I laugh and look at you. I say, with the way you're talking, you're even troubled, you're dysfunction talking like this. So understand. So most men are trying to parent their sons just the way their fathers parented them, and that is a crisis. They feel if you don't shout, if you don't hear, if you don't flog, he won't hear. And some also feel that sometimes ago, I was handling a case of a boy who was suicidal and who had deep issues with the father. And the father felt, I took this boy to a private school, I paid for him, I did a lot, I spent a lot on him, so he must do what I want him to do. For him, connection is the money. Since I spent the money on him, he should connect. So we're seeing all of this. And then coming to what are we going to do? The truth is that you cannot prepare for a battle you are not aware of. So many fathers are not aware of the challenges of the battle we are facing. So many have not come to understand the implication of what they are doing to their sons. They don't know that real men save their boys. And when we have not equipped our boys with leadership skill, then the generation to come will not have leaders. So the challenge we are having is that most men don't even understand that we are in crisis. They feel they are still doing what they are doing and everything is fine. And so it's difficult to help a man who doesn't know that, who has not come to accept that he doesn't have a problem. So one thing I always bring fathers, one thing I always want to make fathers do is to come to a point where they will know that first, there's an issue, there's a crisis, because most fathers don't accept that there's a problem, there's anything going on. Even when they see that their child has become dysfunctional, is smoking, is in drug, they still feel that it's the child's fault. I don't have any fault. He should go and die. He's the, and if you don't accept that, there's no way you can fight this battle. So fathers need to first understand that we're in a crisis. First, take responsibility for the challenges or the issues that is going on in their family. When they take this responsibility, then they can work. Programs like this are avenues where fathers can learn. Understand? Yeah. So we need to begin to bring programs to help fathers learn and understand what is going through. Most of them are not even finding opportunities. Even when we go to churches, some of these issues are not really brought bare before us. There has been a culture of silence and a culture of pretense, as if all is well, when actually all is not well. So until we come to accept that there's a problem, then we can't deal with that problem. So when we accept, then fathers begin to get intentional about learning. Fathers need to learn. And like I said, parenting boys, it requires a lot of skill. You need to know, gather the right skill. And it's in trainings like this and in openings that fathers will learn how to connect with their child. Once there's no connection, then you cannot effectively mentor that child. When relationships are broken down, then toxic behaviors are built. So many boys have built that toxic behavior because relationships have been broken down with the father. So fathers need to learn how to connect, and it's by learning these skills in programs like this and opening themselves to learning and accepting that, yes, I need to learn. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ebuka. In fact, when you talk about learning, the session we are having this evening is going to be championed by Isaac Onoja. Isaac Onoja actually believes that the influence in the world is being taken away from men. And to this evening, he's going to talk about how to take back influence from women. That's his topic. And I'm looking forward to that. I'm so looking forward to 8 p.m. to hear him, to hear him break the table, like we say. You know how you say you want to break the table. You want to actually visit the table finally. I'm looking forward to that because, in fact, when I called him that he was supposed to be here, he first thing he said, men do not know the crisis that we're into. And until
That
they
is true.
go back to understand the amount of crises that have been built over the years, then they will begin to get serious. They still think that this thing is not a serious thing. They do not understand how far that we have gone. Now that takes me to the question, TJ. I want to ask, does it mean that is there anything about how we are raised that is making us not to want to learn? Now let me break that down. Is there something about being raised to be hypocritical, being raised to be self-satisfying, being raised to say to ourselves, well, it's working, so it doesn't matter. I don't really need to, go learn anything. It does this come from our upbringing? Because I have seen this all across the men. I'm not going to say everybody, but it's a very common factor. Whenever women come to our classes and then you say, so your husband should take this, like, say, that one, nobody can teach him. Oh, he knows it already. He says that the one he knows is okay. Is there something, are there things we're refusing to discuss? Is there more to this? Because I'm trying to understand. Is there more to the way our upbringing that is making men to look at themselves as we do not need to learn?
Yeah, that's an amazing question. I want to thank Ibuka for his discuss. It was fundamental, and I think he went a bit into answering your question. So I'm just going to put a lot together, and I'm going to respond differently from a thought you shared for the evening session. I think I don't think men need to take influence back from women. I think also, I hope I'm still online. Can you still hear me?
Yes, we can
Yes.
hear you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, we can hear you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Absolutely, we can hear you.
Okay, great. It froze for a bit. Okay, I was saying that I have a slightly different opinion on the idea of men taking influence back.
Okay.
I strongly believe that men need to take the lead. I strongly believe that men should be the first responsibility officer of the home. I strongly believe that. I support that idea. I also believe that men are actually the strongest source of influence when it comes to the healthy development of a child. A child naturally, male or female, will always incline to the father. Now, a lot of people will say boys incline more to their mothers, while girls incline to their fathers. Yeah, that is a fact from those who have experienced it. But at the end of the day, go and check the value system of these children. They are more strongly influenced by the father. For instance, the girl learns how to relate with men based on who her father is. So when a lady wants to marry, the lady is, I know I'm tilting away from your question, but I'm going to come back there. A
Go
lady
ahead.
is a lady is measuring the guy based on the values of his father. A guy goes out and relates with the world based on how his father relates. So he is the first copy and paste of the father. Till date, my signature is that of my father, is like that of my father. Till date, I always look out for the next thing my dad wants to do because he's my hero. Now, we may not say this, but subconsciously, now going back to your question, subconsciously, this is how we have been modeled over time. And then what we do is most times we take the modeling plus our learning from our environment, and it forms what we call me, you today. So while we stay now, let me give you a clear example of this. Whenever you go around where, right now we don't have parties going on, so we can't talk so much of party jollof rice. But if you talk about where they cook, party jollof rice with firewood, and you stay around the firewood for so long, what happens? You start smelling smoke. Now, that is just an external influence. A
Okay.
mind.
Okay.
Imagine a mind that sits every day, 247 in a house for 15 years. See, hello, can you still hear me?
Yes,
Yes, we
loud and
can.
clear.
I hope you can. Imagine
Yes.
imagine someone who sits 247, seeing a particular attitude, seeing a particular character, seeing a particular value style. What do you think becomes of that person? So the first thing we need to know is to realize that first, those influence, eternal influence, I call them eternal influence from the home, is the first and strongest influence in the framing of a child's mind. Number one. Number two is then what the environment he grows around. Then number three things are the experiences he has while trying to live out the information he got during his orientation at home. So those things make up who this child becomes, and then that's all he can exemplify or amplify. So that's why I said most of our challenges, and I agree with Taiwo that you said yesterday, comes from where we are coming from. So we can necessarily not be so much more of who we have always been until there is a break in that process. And that is where events like this, that is where so many trainings going all around for men, come up. And like also Ebuka was saying, it's interesting to note that the trend is also changing because men now really do want to learn, but they're looking for places to learn. So I just want to use the opportunity to call out to I want to use these opportunities to call out to men to connect with other men who are speaking. I have like a father figure out there who is Faladurute. He's doing stuff tomorrow. Men, when you see such thing, jump into. When you see anything like this on TIP, jump into and embrace it. I run a nursing fathers community, and you so are shocked. I run a nursing fathers community, and you'll be so shocked how fathers who have kids from from 1 month to 3 years old are excited to be in the community. We can connect and we can share. And then in such a place, we even laugh at our orientation, the things that we've believed over time that has made us kind of fathers. And then we are proving to first ourselves that we can even get more involved in the family than what people think or than our wives expect. And it becomes a place where we onboarding, where we connect, where we share. So what is happening is that we have been learning so that our children, we have a new learning and create the right experiences for themselves. Hello, am I still here?
Yes, you are.
Yes.
Thank you so much for that, TJ. Recently I was telling someone that we need communities, male communities where men can come together, share, say a lot. I like what Name Tiapan said. He said we are raised to avoid pain. He said what hurts us instructs us. He
Hmm.
said men are raised to believe they are superior. Learning needs humility. Most men cannot afford humility. It takes a man to say, I don't know, for them to learn. Thank you so much, Namiti. I like that. I like the way that was scripted. It means that you need to relinquish your ego to actually learn. That's what it means. It means that when you get to a point where you need to learn, that there's something, different. I'm so glad that there are now men communities, where men can actually come together to learn. So I think that our orientation really, about how we got here, is actually something that have done, a lot to our side. Now that takes me to the next question. Ebuka, you run a boys mentoring outfit. I know because I've had time to actually be able to speak with you, and I know that the things that you see, there are some that we might not be able to say it all out here. But I want to ask you, what have you found as the role of fatherhood to all the mess, in the line of your work? Is there any correlation between the absentee father and the things that happen to these boys that you're mentoring? Will you put in a blanket, because of course the statistics might not be so accurate, but in your own line of duty and your own workspace, do you think that fathers being involved can change anything?
Thank you very much for that question. Yeah. Seriously, I've seen a lot. Sometimes you are just so tired and overwhelmed because of very funny and terrible stories you keep hearing about boys. And sincerely, from my work over time, I've seen that most of the boys that I've seen that having deep issues or struggles, either coming from a broken home, a dysfunctional home, and most of them are disconnected from their fathers. I've hardly seen a boy who has a connection with the father, a relationship that is in such a deep mess. Most of them have discovered there's a disconnection from their fathers, deep issues. Please permit me to answer your question with, I want to quote a verse from the Bible to answer this question. Permit me to do that. In Malachi chapter 3, is 4 verse 6. He said, I will turn the hearts of the fathers to their children, and the hearts of the children to their fathers, lest I come and strike them with a curse. So, what does that even show us? That for a society to be healed, the father must have their children, they must come back and fill that void of absence. So, when the heart of the fathers and the sons and the children are not connected, the society is in crisis. So, we're in this crisis today because of the void, because of the absence we have seen from fathers who are meant to be leaders. So there's a critical connection between fathers and how children turn out to be. I've seen deep issues. I handled a case where I was telling you about a boy who was having deep, serious issues with the father, and he was becoming suicidal. He just wanted to kill himself because his father was not connected. And when I even talked with the father, his father said he can die now. After all, he has, and I wonder, how can you tell your child? The boy said the father told him that he should die, that it's better he dies. And the father said that it's better he dies. And this boy was traumatized. He was affected academically, he was traumatized emotionally, he had deep issues, almost going into drugs because of what? There was the disconnection from the father. So when that role of fatherhood, when there's no rich role of manhood for the boys, it makes the boys vulnerable and affects their identity. Understand? He opens them to make them vulnerable, and it cripples the identity of a boy because there's no way, there's no man, there's no father that he has learned rich modeling of manhood from. So when there's not, that role modeling is not there, there's a disconnect. I've seen boys that are disconnected and dysfunctional. It affects them, it breaks them, it scatters them, it gives them a negative orientation to life. I've always said that boys don't live, or people, we naturally don't live in a vacuum. We are created to relate. Boys always want to be led. Most times, fathers think boys don't want to be led. Boys, if you look deep down within the heart of a boy, he wants to be led. And so when that leading is not there, when that vacuum has been created, because he's a human, is natural, he has to look for elsewhere to occupy and fill that vacuum. And that's why most celebrities or most terrible people in the society have filled the vacuum. They are the ones giving them the love and the attention they want. And that's why you see our boys go to the streets, in drugs, in court, because that's where they are finding the love they are missing from their father. That's where they are finding the attention they are missing. That connection that is teaching them how to be a man. They feel, since my father is not showing me, there is somebody out there that is teaching me how to be a strong man. Boys want to be led. Boys want to be modeled. But when there's this disconnection, so from my experience in the field, most boys have related with that dysfunctional, are coming from broken homes, or they are having deep relationship crisis with their fathers. I appreciate the mothers, they try their best to
Okay, so I think there's a okay.
thank you.
Okay, Ebuka is bad.
Thank you.
Okay,
No
Ebuka,
matter
your
how a
last
mother
statement.
is, there's just something.
Okay,
Yeah. I said no matter
go
how
ahead.
wonderful a mother is, there's an extent to which she can go. There's a role the fathers need to play that cannot be overemphasized. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ebuka. That was spoken so much from the heart. There's a role the father will need to play for something to change. You know, recently, my father-in-law lives very close to me, and we're also quite close. And then he comes to the house very often. And then he was in the house the other day recently, and he was throwing jokes. So anytime he's around, he throws jokes. He's constantly, throwing one joke or the other, just want everybody to laugh. And it dawned on me, my husband is a clown, my son is a clown. So somehow I was now able to fit in the whole thing. I was like, oh, that's where this is coming from. These people just, there's a generational thing about what you learn, from your father and how it passes on. So, TJ, are there things that, modeling, when it comes to modeling, is it also possible? Because I've also seen people that have said the father was a good man. After everything the father did, yet the son still went astray. What could be the reason? Could anything, that should have been done, be done? Because I've also seen good people, really good people raising people, yet the people don't turn out, to be like what it is that the society would have, imagined for them as regards their sons. What do you think could be what causes that? Hello, TJ, are you there?
Is that to book out to me?
To you,
Yeah.
TJ.
Okay, yes. If I got your question right, you're saying what is responsible for boys who don't turn out to become like their fathers, right? Is that summary of the question?
Yes. Yes, TJ, can you hear
Okay,
me?
yes. Okay. Thank you very much. Interesting question. I'm so sorry. I think the village people are trying to get to me with the network here. I've had to switch between three networks. Friendster. Yes, I can hear you clearly. I can hear you clearly.
Mm.
Can
Yes,
you hear me? Are you sure you can
yes,
hear me?
we can
It's
hear you.
just
Go
network
ahead.
issue. It's raining here. It's raining here. Cats and dogs here worried.
Okay.
So please, please permit me
It's
on that.
fine.
Okay, now there is I wouldn't have to apologize for referring to the scripture just like Ebuka did, but it is a script that has worked. Yes, it's a script that has worked for me. Now, so I'm going to just pull from it. Okay. I don't really need you to believe the Bible. It's just
Mhm.
like you read a book and, whatever lessons you pick from it. I choose to
Absolutely.
pick lessons from every book I pick, especially the Bible. It says, train up a child in the way he should go.
Mm,
I think one of the things that we have that
mm,
is a basic issue here is that most of us tend to want to train up our children in the way we want them to go. I am a clear example
mm,
of what that very scripture says. My father is a reverend. My mother is a reverend. I was born like a church boy, but my life
mm,
was I was like a disciple of Judas Iscariot. I was the opposite of everything desirable of a Christian child. I wasn't it at
mm,
all. But the most important thing is why I'm what I am today is that my father gave me the foundational training, and I want to say this to all fathers. It is your responsibility to train. It is not your responsibility to lead, to put them in the way. The way is born out of their decisions, their understanding, and their experiences.
mm,
And so I got in the way, not that, yeah, in the way he has to go, in the way I have to go, because my life is not the collation of my life is not a story that makes my father's story after life. I don't know how to put out what I want to say, but my experiences. Okay, yeah, this is what I want to say. I am primarily accountable for my experiences in this life and life after, not my
mm,
father. My father is
mm,
primarily responsible for his experience, not my experiences. So the
mm,
way is what I create from my understanding of the things I have emulated and the things I have learned and encountered. And say this: was I that good boy that ought to be the a preacher's son? The answer was no. However,
mm,
now look at the scripture. It says, when he is old, he will not depart. So, in other
depart.
words, he may depart even during the training process. But when he is
Mm,
old, the foundation always stands sure. So one of the
mm,
things we should strive to do as parents is not to ensure that this is why we beat our children so hard and we give them
mm,
that brain resetting knock that sometimes makes them lose their creative ability or lose
mm,
their mind from becoming normal human beings.
Okay, so one of the things we need to do is ensure we train the child in the way. So my first question is, do you know the way? If you know the way, train the child, then allow him go. Give him that opportunity to go out. Sometimes you may have the ones who will be so good, like the prodigal story, where one who was so good stayed at home, and the other one who was then prodigal, went out and then came back, and then he came back.
Okay, so I think
Wow.
the network,
We
I heard
lost
that
him.
it's raining so much in Benin. So Ebuka, please, you can continue
Yes,
from where
I like what he said about training the children in the way of the Lord. Most time parents think the way of the Lord is just taking the child to church. Since I'm taking him to church, then I'm going in the way of the Lord. But that same Lord had a unique relationship with his disciple. We saw the relationship, we saw the connection, we saw how they stayed together, how they could ask Jesus any question, how Jesus could connect with them, how they went, eating together, dining together. They could even lean on the shoulder of Jesus. So you took only church going as the way of the Lord, but you don't know relationship with your child is also the way of the Lord. So
Awesome.
most times parents now say, I took my child to church, I prayed for him, I
I've done
fasted, but he still
everything.
turned, I did everything. You did everything, but you are still a lion in your house. When you enter, everybody take cover. Thank you. I think TJ is back.
Yeah, it's all
You
right.
can take
TJ
over.
is here.
So sorry, guys.
Yes. Yes,
Yes,
TJ, go
sorry.
ahead.
So yeah, I was talking about the prodigal sons. One was wayward, he went out and he came back. One was at home. The one who was at home ended up becoming jealous of the one who went out. My question is, how come the one who was at home did not even understand that he was of advantage and had everything to him? So in other words, that thing we call home training, that you think when you give to your child becomes this because it's at home. It's not the total package. So a child can stay at home and be so deceptive in his response to you, thinking that you're learning, and he's becoming something else because there are values that are superior to your values that he's learning from outside. The one who went outside came back home. He came back with understanding because he had an experience. Yes, he ate with the pigs. Yes, he had all those things, but he came back with experience that made him have sense to find his way back home and then submit to the influence of a father. So sometimes what we call rebellion, what we call whatever it is, what we call children going wayward, is a child's process. Every parent who is listening to this, every man who's listening to this, had their own journeys who I believe at one point their fathers didn't agree. But they became a bit rebellious because they knew what they wanted, seemingly knew what they wanted. And then we all always will come to a point of realization that that was just me walking in the loudness of ignorance. And then we realign ourselves. And those experiences are responsible for who we are today. So I really don't see a big deal. I really don't see a big deal when children don't turn out the way you expect them to. Because, however, their creation was not after your expectation. You are a subset of a larger expectation from a larger being who created us. Okay, why limit them to expectation? So the best we should do as parents is to ensure that we train them. Now, in training, there is discipline. Discipline is not punishment, and I think people should buy your book on Connect to Correct to
The
learn more
discipline
about
that
that.
works.
Yes,
Discipline that
yeah,
work.
discipline. Yeah, disciplining is a part of training. Discipline
Yes.
basically means to disciple. It doesn't mean to punish. So
Yes.
in disciplining your child, you are instilling the right values. His interpretation is always different. If I cook a goosey soup, and by the way, my goosey soup is always very sweet, very, very sweet. If I cook a goosey soup,
I
yeah.
haven't eaten it.
No,
Please,
my
you
wife,
don't
my
know.
wife, my wife will tell you. If I cook a goosey soup, it will taste differently from what both Ebuka and Wendy will cook. Does it
Yes.
mean that, yeah, does it mean that it is not a goosey soup? No, it's a goosey soup. In other words, every child will do the same thing with different understanding and always turn out. What our role as fathers should be is to ensure that in the training process we are guiding them to help them become the best versions of themselves and not an amplified version of who we are. And those expectations, most times, and the ignorance as well, is what leads to this. Now, are there children who become really, really wayward, as it were? Yes, I have one around me here who is the direct opposite of what his father represents. However, while everyone is complaining, nobody is failing to realize that his father does not communicate with him, but his father only, disciplines him with expectations he has not communicated. So the boy is relating with those who are communicating with him. And sadly, none of them have the value sets. And please let me say this. Now, the world has been built with men who really did not know what they were doing, even when they claimed they were doing. Let's go back and let's look at from genocides and all that. They all thought what they were doing is right. Yeah, to them this was right. They had supporters, right? Yes. So you find out that the world has already been bastardized. Values are clashing here and there. Values are clashing here and there. What we need to do is not to streamline them into your own limited. Like I always tell myself I am never absolute on anything because I'm still learning. Never streamline your child to the absoluteness of your limited knowledge and limited experience. The child needs to create an experience, and your vulnerability gives them that opportunity to create an authentic experience that they will be willing to share, irrespective of how far they go. So this is it. This is it. What are your values? What are your values? What are my values? When I see it from the 3 perspective, it has made me see 3D, and we all know 3D is better than 2D. Okay, so by the time what we start doing is bringing our values to a common point where you can rotate around. You can what's that word in basketball? I've forgotten it. Where you can pivot. Yes, where you can pivot. So you know that there's something you are pinning on. And no matter how far, which now goes back to building foundations, no matter how far the child goes, he comes back like the prodigal. He's always coming back. So for me are we as fathers creating the environment that brings our children back? Are we creating the environment? Yes. Are we creating the environment that our children can be vulnerable in? Are we creating now? See me, I can tell my dad anything. You were talking about your my dad is just like your father-in-law. My father comes, he wants to play, he wants to laugh. People see me on usual teacher and all that. I got it from my dad. My dad meets you. In fact, he will want to become your friend more than me. And start fighting, but that is my friend first. He has made his space that vulnerable. When I had a kid outside wedlock, I was able to call my dad and say, "Man, dad, oh boy, permit my vernacular, oh boy, I don't mess up." Oh. I was able to do that because I knew he would not kill me. However, this is the same father that flogged me one time that I could not sit for 7 days. The same father. Yeah. Yeah, so he never punished me because of anger. He never punished me because he hated me. He created an environment, and I find it so hard right now to hate. I can't afford to hate. It's so expensive. Why? Because everything my dad did was in love. He created an environment where love thrives, and that has influenced everything I have become. So I am not like my elder sister or my elder brother. My elder brother is here. I was not like him who was just this. They call him Spirit Man T. Me, they call me unusual TJ. I started looking at our child. I started looking at some of our family old school pictures. There are some around. If I show you, everybody was wearing native. I was the only one wearing English. I just was looking back. Oh, was this really me? I was different. I was non-conformist. But this is me in the whole of my family. In the whole of my family, I am the one who has taken the name furthest. I was the one who spoils the name the most, but I was the one who has taken the name furthest. So, yeah, I wouldn't want us to start creating boundaries, for these children. However, we should ensure that the influence we create goes with them in a borderless society. And going back to something I started much earlier with is this: it takes both parents. It is not necessarily the just responsibility of the father or of the mother. It takes both parents. And the ability of the father, I'm speaking to fathers here, the ability, it's not a competition. That is why I don't believe in many of all this, one power over all, because sometimes I wrote and I said 2 things. One of the things I wrote was the fact that by the time we get so women power empowered, we now find out that men are disempowered. We now start men empower men, and before we know, this is what we're doing. Left, right. And the other thing is that even women they tend to care for children, especially their sons most. And at the end of the day, women are complaining that men are the problem. So I started asking women, what did you do to men? If you are the one that nurtured them as growing up, that men love you so much, what did you do to them? So it's a dual responsibility. And the ability for the father to understand that he married a wife and a partner and work with that partner in love creates a healthy sense of growth, a balanced perspective to life for the child, the male child, who I never saw my father hit my mom. I cannot think of hitting a woman. It doesn't fit anywhere in my orientation. So we should create an influence that follows our children, no matter how far they go, and stop putting unnecessary barriers that this digital age will make them escape. I'll stop here.
Thank you so much, DJ. In fact, I will take it up from where you stopped. I usually say that we were raised for a local community. We had a local stage where we were raised. You were raised in Benin. I'm sure it was just on your street that they knew you in those days. The unusual TJ on that street. I was raised in Owerri. I'm sure that it was on my street that people knew me. Somebody chatted me yesterday and said, I know you, it's a Michael Samakoya. Oh my goodness.
Worry, not even Benin.
Worry.
And it was only in my school.
Okay. But what we are failing to understand is that these children have a global stage.
Yeah.
I don't think it has come to our head yet that the people we are raising are not playing on the same kind of stage we are playing. Their stage is larger. Their stage is bigger. So if that is the case, what should we do differently? Now, when you were talking about the prodigal son, I usually write parenting lessons from the Bible every Sunday. I started doing that just a few weeks ago. And last Sunday, I wrote on the prodigal son. My question was, when I ended that story, was how many of you will have a son like the prodigal son who will come back to you? Now, it's easy for us to use that scripture and, look at when you look at the father of that prodigal son, he was an exemplary father. A father,
yes.
And the son goes to squander his whole wealth and still has the ability to come back. And then when he got back, the father welcomed him,
embraced him.
I asked parents that day last Sunday, I said, how many of you will sit back when a child makes a mistake to even be happy that a child has come in a place where they agree that they've made a mistake? I don't think many fathers are actually in that place. And for me, that was a role model of a father in the Bible that I was able to pick out in that scripture. So, talking about it, is it that, yesterday Taiwo said you will be fathered the way you were fathered? Is it that most of us haven't been able to see a lot of these examples? Is it that most of us have just decided that no, we are not going to change anything? Or is it that we just think we can do it, our own way? Because I'm really inquisitive to find out why a lot of the fathers, are not coming into the place of we really, really need to change something. Now that takes us to the next question, Ebuka. I want to ask you, when we say create a loving environment for communication, what exactly would the father need to be doing? Because there's a lot of ways to create this loving environment. A lot of people, when you ask them, they will tell you, we are creating a loving environment. We are creating a loving environment. Nameti said the prodigal son story brought tears to my eyes. Yes, when you read the one I wrote last Sunday, it was amazing. A lot of people reached out to me to say they've never seen it in that perspective in their lives. So, it's something that I want to ask. How do they begin to create? There's a lot of pressure too. We also sympathetic to the father in the third world country, like Taiwo said yesterday night. Who is pressured by a lot of things. Family burden, immediate family burden, external family burden, and a lot of things that that happened. What do you think are the ways, practical ways, that fathers can begin to create an avenue that can make them, even when they have a prodigal son, and the prodigal son can come back?
Come
I
back.
usually say that I don't want to raise a child that will obey me all the time. I want to raise a child that can think for himself. Few days ago, I was seated in a class. I was seated just beside where my children were having a class. My daughter was saying something, and I said something in response. My son came to me and he said, "Sorry, mom, you were not supposed to do that. That was wrong." In fact, he jotted me up, into reality. I took a seat back again, held myself. The parenting ego in me wanted to rise. I said, "Hey, stand up, sit down. Okay, we must listen." And I said, "I'm so sorry. I didn't really see it that way." And he said, "Okay, it's fine." And then he walked away. I said, "Mogbe, hey, is this?" So, what I'm asking is, what are the practical ways fathers can begin to? Now, this is, coming from me, who have been able to do a lot of introspection, do a lot of unlearning, do a lot of, teaching, do a lot of things to actually be able to get here. What do you think these fathers, considering the things that come on these fathers, over time?
Thank you very much. I really want to appreciate the father. Like you said, it's not really easy being a father, especially in the third world, because there's a lot of responsibilities. You have to take care of the home. They are calling you tomorrow, gas is finished, the bag of rice is finished. You'll be wondering how. And sometimes this pressure just comes. You are like, I bought this just last week. How have you people finished a bag of rice in 2 weeks? So sometimes fathers respond to, because of these challenges, there's a lot of pressure, I must confess, on the father. But we need to start setting priorities right. Just like CJ read about that scripture, train up a child in the way of the Lord. I like most fathers say that I had to train that child in the way of the Lord. And I was saying previously that training that child in the way of the Lord is holistic. It's not just going
to church.
to having prayer and fasting. If you want to say it's the way of, how did Jesus relate with his disciples? Like I was saying, they
Exactly.
could lean on his shoulders, they could go fishing and eat together, just around, to go on a walk to Jesus. Even when they are saying things that don't make sense, they could say it to Jesus. There was an opening, there was a connection through which they can talk about it. So if you want to say training is just in the way of the Lord, then be holistic. Be holistic and really train in the way of the Lord, or how the Lord did it in every way. And like what TJ said about creation too. Our children were created in the image of God and not in our image. So most people, the image of Okoye. It's not the image of, it's the image of God. So sometimes we also put pressure on our son to become who they are not really meant to be. That child also has a purpose, and God wants that child to fulfill a certain assignment. Now coming to practically how fathers need to connect. Sincerely, I tell parents or fathers that you cannot build a healthy child in a toxic environment. It's not possible. You cannot build that. And sometimes the amount of time. Some fathers say, but I'm always at home. It's not by the quantity of time, it's by the quality of time. There are some fathers that stay at home just 2 hours every day, but that viciously. But there are some that spend 20 hours in the home a day, but the father who spent 2 hours is having a better time with the children than the one who spent 20 hours. So even as we're talking about spending time, it's not just in the quantity, but the quality of time. And also when will say, but I took her to Dubai, but I took him to Dubai, I paid his school fees and all of that. All of that. This is wonderful. Sometimes these things that bring connections are unusual moments. There are just those moments around the boy, I like your haircut. How did he go? Or those moments around the house that the boy is playing football. You join. Some things that bring connection are unusual moments. It's not even like, sometimes it's not really like holding your hand and going to church or putting you in one university that they pay 1 million. Sometimes things that build connection between fathers and sons are unusual moments, like sitting together to watch football, like sitting together to pick beans, or you are cooking in the kitchen and just say, guy, to talk about the trends going on. They are very unusual moments. Father, it's not expensive to build connection with your child. It's very cheap and very simple. It's not expensive to build connection with your child. Look for unusual even losing her hair, you try to help. I say, guy, come, let's do this. When the child has seen, sometimes we have not built a small, unusual moment with our children or our boys, and we want to build the big one. We've not been able to connect with them in small things, and we want to connect with them in big things. That cannot happen. Relationship is in a process. They're in blocks. They're in steps. If you have not and eat, then you can't tell him which school to go to. When you have not been able to relate with your child and say, this shopping together, or can we just take a walk together? They are very unusual moments, things that you don't even think. They are the things that make a lot of sense to these boys. Very unusual moments, very unusual. And I encourage fathers to look out for those unusual moments. Sometimes when they are playing or when they are dancing, sometimes when my boys are dancing, I just go and start dancing with them. They are doing a live video, I'll just start dancing. You know, you just see the excitement. That is here, you know, and that just brings that connection. You know, they talked about coming back. Coming back. I've seen boys who are saying, I can't go back to my father. I can't talk to my father. I've seen fathers who also say, I don't want to see that child in my house again. And I say, is it worth it? Is it worth it? So when we're able to build those small, unusual moments, then we can help them take critical decisions. So many fathers want to jump the gun. I want to help them. I told him to go to this school, didn't go. I told him to register for this. I told him to do this. But you have not connected in small things. How do you want him to do big things? When you are faithful in little, even Bible says when you are faithful in little, then much will be committed to you. The boy cannot commit much into your hands because you have not been faithful in even little things that pertains to him. So those unusual small moments are key. Don't go to pay big money, take them out or fly them abroad. Wonderful, beautiful. It helps a lot of boys, but also look for those small, unusual moments. When you're able to bond and connect in those little times, then you can help him do greater things.
Thank you so much, Ebuka.
Sorry,
You
Wendy.
know that. Yes.
Sorry,
yes.
Wendy. Hello, Wendy.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I know. I just wanted to say a few things. And to men here, just following what Ebuka said. Sometimes we get it wrong. Sometimes I do get it wrong sometimes. And whenever you get it wrong, please say I'm sorry. Learn to say I'm sorry. Apologize to your children where you're wrong. Don't go to them as know it all. The day they realize that you don't know it all, they'll stop trusting. They'll start to stop trusting you. That's the beginning of the end of trust.
Yes.
So that's one thing. Be vulnerable with your children. I tell my children my stories where I failed. There's always story of this Superman, this Adidas, and the one that I failed. You see sometimes I tell my teenagers, they're like, hey, they are the one expressing the pain for me, because I was vulnerable. I was vulnerable with my truth. That is another thing you want to do. Then you need to also, now this is very hard for us. And one of the things I said earlier, we need to learn to love unconditionally. Our love, yes, because they need to learn how to love. To me, love is the greatest tool in any system, whether business or anything. Love is the greatest force in life. If we teach our children by how to love by loving unconditionally, we have conditioned them to become love personified. So one of the things we need to do is teach our children how to love. When you sit down and you complain about every mistake, you are programming them to be so observant about mistakes and not finding solutions. But what if there's a mistake and, okay, this didn't happen, so what can we do to solve it? You are also now leading them to take responsibility to become problem solvers. So yes, the mistake is there. Well, no shout, no quarrel will change it. So fathers, you need to take the lead. You need to take the lead, because the truth is, children learn much more from what you do than what you say. So who are you and what are you doing? Those things are key. So and in becoming who you are, don't be a Superman. Just love. And finally, fathers, please grow up. And I'll shut up there.
Thank you very much. I like what he said about love and how it relates to families. I've seen boys who are saying, my father wants to show me love, but he has not shown that same love to my mother. So many fathers want, they're in the contention with their wives or the mothers of their children, and yet you want to show love to the child when you have not first shown love. I see boys who say, you should first love my mother, you should first love his wife before showing me love. He's cheating on his wife and he's drinking and he wants to show me love. So you can see that the children are also watching to see how you relate with your spouse. So when there's a toxic environment, you can't build a healthy child. And that toxic environment even entails how you relate with your spouse. They are watching to see how you relate with their mother. And when there's no relationship, it will be difficult to really penetrate them because they feel you are not practicing what you want to connect or do with them. Is very key.
Thank you so much. My mantra says that relationship trumps control in parenting. If you do not have relationship, it trumps control. Forget the control. Your control will naturally come to you when you build relationship. And I say that authority is not force and control. Authority is respect and trust. The moment your child can't trust you, you have lost authority. The moment your child can't respect you, which comes from trust, you have lost authority. And yesterday, there was something that Taiwo said. He said authority is transient. And the period where you have authority, use it well. Don't use it stupidly because you are a father. And then that now takes me also back to what Akinrabo said earlier. He had another definition of righteousness. Oh my God, he defined it and I was jumping up. He said righteousness is your ability to be true to your journey and to your children, to be able to do everything in such a way that your life is an open book. And he said something. He said your children will lose confidence in you the moment they hear your story from outsiders. But when they hear about your mistakes from you, it is easy for your children to continue to trust you even when they hear the stories out there. Now, this is now taking me to the question, the real thing that I really, truly will want us to really talk about before we leave here. Rape. Do we think that there is an enabling environment? Are parents enabling rape in any way? Are there things that are being done in the home front that is enabling rape? I do not want to share my opinion, yet on this. I would like Ebuka and TJ to Ebuka is here. So Ebuka, let's hear you. Is there something that is happening around our society that is enabling rape? The rape culture that we have, the idea that people are supposed to be forced, rape is about not having consent. Is there a way that the people we are raising, is there something happening, that is actually fueling this whole crisis? Ebuka?
When they want us to shake this table, thank you very much. Thank you very much. First, I will say I really feel for the women, and I appreciate women and all they go through. I want to say that, yes, I totally say no to rape, and all that women are going through is a devastating experience. Yes, coming from the angle of the boys or the home and the family, yes, there's, most times when we talk about this issue, I say sometimes we want to deal with this issue, you want to cut down a tree and you're just plugging the leaves and the stems. And we are not going down to deal with the root, to cut down the tree from the root. No matter how you cut the stems or the leaves, even when you cut some of the branches, it will still grow again, it will still bud. So if we want to deal with this issue, it's for us to go down to the roots. And what is the roots? Going back to the home front. Every boy who is a rapist came from a family. No rapist fell from the sky. They came from a home. No rapist fell from the sky. Every one of them came from a home. And boys are always become what they are taught. There's this culture at home that I've seen among parents where, we're talking about how men are also fathered, You see, when you go to most homes, it's as if the man is the lion and the tribe of the home. There's this culture of the man is always the one. When he comes back, his work is to sit down and watch television, and they serve him food with 10 meats. He has to eat. If he doesn't have a bloated tummy, then he's not a father. His tummy has to be big. He has to take everything. And sometimes I say, fatherhood is even about sacrifice. How can you eat 10 meat and other people don't have meat to eat? That is by the way. So unconsciously, you also see.
Oh my
Unconsciously, you also see the boys in the home, learning that, thinking that fatherhood is about coming to be one big boss at home. Most times you see the father, shouting on the wife, even when she's pregnant, she's the one sweating, doing everything, shout, hit, yell. So unconsciously, the boy is also seeing that, so this is how a father should be. A father should always be the one shouting. These girls must, when the man is talking, the woman must be shaking and frightened. You also see the boys relating with their sisters the same way. They are shouting on the girl. They are having this bossy authority. So boys have not really been taught, love and connection and respect. And unconsciously, these boys grow up thinking that a man must yell at a woman, must shout on a woman, must take things forcefully from a woman because he is in charge. And then unconsciously, most of them go out doing that. Some may lead to rape, some may not. But also coming from the angle of rape, do you know that I've gone to interview some boys that have raped girls? I've gone to police station. One of the things I do is to go and talk to them. And it's shocking to find out that some of them are coming from a foundation that is dysfunctional. Most of the boys I've interviewed that have raped are also coming from a background of molestation. You see some of them sharing their experiences of how an older lady introduced them to sex at 6, at 3, at 4, at 7. I've interviewed most rapists, and he said, I grew up with the mind to revenge and deal with those girls. I grew up with the mind that the society don't care about me. They just look at these girls. My father, nobody even cares. Some of them even say, when I talked about it, they slapped me, they yelled. How can a woman do that to you? I've met, in my experience, I've met hundreds of boys who have shared their experiences with older ladies. Even up to last night, was talking with one who kept sharing about horrible experiences. I've been in a situation where a 2 years boy, I've been sexually molested before me, caught to handle by another older lady. So some of these boys grow up with hurt, with pain, and revenge in dealing with that. There's no excuse to rape. That you've been molested does not mean you should rape. But most time we are creating an enabling environment where we are silent about the issues these boys are going through. We are not looking to know how are they deformed? How did they come to that point where they're even deforming other people? We are not going down to the foundation to see the emotional traumas and issues, the issues of sexual molestation and abuse they are going through that made them to grow up and become toxic, that make them to grow up and become dysfunctional and become violent and become that bad. We don't look at that. We just see the end, but we don't look at the process. So if we must deal with these issues, then we must go back to the root. How our boys trained, how our boys model, who is molesting our boys, who is introducing these boys to this all manner of evil and terrible habits at a tender age. Because when these boys start at 4, before 7, they are sexually wide. They are sexually wide. Any girl on scale they want to, because they were introduced at a very early age, and that escalates their sexual emotions. A lot of boys are troubled from my interaction with most of those rapists. They keep recounting terrible experiences they've had with girls. Some of them are on a revenge mission. If we must deal with this, they must go back to the family and begin to equip the boys with the right morals, with the right values. Teach them how to relate with a lady, how to handle a boy. Fathers must model how to relate with a woman, even with their wives, because the boys are learning from them. And then looking into what they go through, their issues and their challenges, that helps them to become better men, to become healthy men, and also relate better in the society in the future. I'll stop here.
Thank you so much, Ebuka. So, TJ, TJ, this issue. Oh yeah,
I think I once did a video. I once did a video on my Instagram page where I shared some thoughts, and I thank you, Ebuka, for going the length you did. The truth is, parents didn't fall from heaven. Sorry, rapists didn't fall from heaven, or they didn't emerge from hell. Rapists were bred here on earth. Rapists are a product of homes, and just like Ebuka said, they have copied a value. One of the things, as humans that we don't know, as parents that we don't know, is that every signal, or rather every attitude we exhibit signals something to the minor. So a child is being programmed by everything we do, and our negligence helps that wrong orientation that is not cultured grow wild. I want to also add my voice, to say I stand against rape. I say no to rape, and I sympathize with as many ladies who have been raped. I think rape is a monstrous and barbaric expression of an uncultured mind. I think it is devilish, it's barbaric. I still can't understand the concept of rape. With all due respect to women, I know that I've just been thinking if we have a lot of women who stand out as hookers and all that, some, not a lot, sorry, out there, why should men now go fight and struggle for it? But Ebuka gave a pointer, a good pointer to that reason, and that means they must have grown up in environments that give breast that. Now, moving on, part of my concern in the root causes. I'm a man, and I love men to always be sincere with ourselves. One of the ways we were designed to be sexual beings. Any man who doesn't have a sexual desire should be run away from. We all have sexual desires. I see sexual desire as a normal desire. There's nothing wrong with having a sexual desire. It's like having a desire to eat. Okay, it's a normal desire. However, many of us have
Are you
eaten
still
ourselves
here,
out of shape.
TJ?
I'm very much here, and I'm talking. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I
I'm
can
talking. I'm
I
here.
can hear him.
Are you
I can
still
hear
here?
him. Yes, he's still here. I can hear him.
Okay, I'm thinking that we've lost both
No, I can hear
TJ
him.
and
Hello, can you hear
Ebuka.
me? Can you hear
I
me?
think we I think we have lost
No, I
her.
think we lost you. I think we lost
Anyway,
her.
I think you lost her.
I think you
She's
should.
going to
I'm
come
sure they are listening, so you can go ahead.
back. I can go ahead. So, as I was saying,
Mm.
Ebuka, you're a man here. No matter
Mm.
how married we are, we still get this sensation when we see some sexy girls all around.
Very true.
Yeah, we cannot deny it. We have these feelings. Every man has that. We cannot shut men from having that feelings because it's a natural wiring. However,
Mm.
what differentiates you and I is the fact that Wendy, you're welcome back. Can you hear us?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, thank God. So we could hear ourselves. Okay, so I said every man has a natural desire. Any man that doesn't have a natural sexual desire should be run away from. Okay,
Mhm.
what differentiates us is that our desire has been informed and cultured. Now,
Mm.
any person who just eats, eating is a natural desire to eat because we all get hungry. Anyone who eats without being informed, guess what? You get diabetes from
Mm.
too much intake of sugar. You get
Mm.
bloated stomach. You get health issues from eating wrongly. You can eat yourself to death. Okay, so also rape follows that same thing. So as much as we now start creating balanced diet to live healthy, we should have a balanced. I don't know the English to use. Balanced sex, yes, to get our sex life, healthy. So
Mm.
how do we first communicate the idea of sex? Who told our children first about sex? If it was
Mm.
not the parent, then there's big problem. So are we
Mm.
talking to our wards about sex, or we are allowing them go find it out there? And when young adults or children go out to explore about sex, they don't hear sex. They hear the F word being used, being abused. And the next thing is that they turn to, and this is one thing we also need to be careful and conscious about, is that these things
Mhm.
are everywhere. Pornography is everywhere. And it is the loudest um please permit me
Influence.
for yes,
Mhm.
permit me for a minute. Yeah, it is the largest influence.
Mm.
Unlike before where we used to find the what we call blue film. We were looking for it as
Mm.
teenagers. Right now, it is the blue film that is looking for the today's teenagers. They appear everywhere. And if that is the first introduction to your child, I'm so sorry, you're in trouble. Okay,
Mm.
so we have then allowed this. We are when we talk about security, we lock our gates. We lock our gates, but we don't even lock our digital gates. What are your
Mm.
children doing? You
Mm.
don't know. You give them data to do all sorts. You don't engage. You don't converse, and that's where Buka was talking about creating the right environment becomes very important. You know, When they even pick your phones, what do they see? Do they see things they shouldn't
Mm.
see? If things they shouldn't see exist in your
Mm.
phone, trust me, that's my lovely wife just passing behind me and my baby. you know, um, uh, what do they see? If they see the things that are desirable, they will model those things. If they see the things that blow their mind, they will be
Mm.
so inquisitive to search and they will get lost in searching. So we have not
Mm.
built, because like I said earlier, we don't even know how to, and also because our cultural upbringing has put us in that place. We don't even know how to build digital security for our children. So they get exposed to these things. It now becomes, you'll be so shocked that in schools, there are videos that I have seen where in schools, children are having blowjobs and there are other people in class laughing and covering up. And you hear them say things like, we're not talking about sex here, sex issue, but I'm just giving you foundations. Then you hear them say, let's go and have fun. Those days, don't want to go and have fun. It's to go and play football. But right now, they are doing three songs, four songs, whatever songs they are doing out there, things I cannot even imagine. And that is fun. Why? Because of the absence of parents in parenting. So the parents can think he is a parent, but he's absent in parenting. And also, let me just add this and stop here. There are so many things we're going to talk about. Now we look. I talked about us being drawn by the things we see around. Okay, and then I look at the fact that I want companies around want to advertise soap that will take and bait. The girl must be naked and must be drawing
Naked,
the
oh,
soap in one
very
in
naked.
one way. Not even
It
when you
is
enter
well.
bedroom, you yourself, you just rub and come out. You don't rub it in slow motion. But yes, it is a sales strategy. When we want to sell anything, a car, I want to sell a car. The next thing I put one girl, she's there. Then worse still, we go on and want to get entertained, and we play all the songs we see, which has made me stop, giving my access to all those things. We see ladies shaking, what their mothers gave them.
Shaking,
Our heads
shaking,
start to
shaking.
shake. When we finish watching, our heads are shaking. So what I did for myself was to stop myself. I stopped, blocked all those things. I didn't subscribe for anything that gives me access to all those, because I don't want my head to shake. So now
Very true.
imagine a child who grows, a teenager who's trying to understand his emotion. And by the way, research shows that most rapists started watching porn at the age of 13. There's a research that shows that.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. And imagine a teenager trying to understand his emotion, living at the extreme exposure to sexual influence. What exactly have we made of that child? Who made that
Mm.
rapist? So while we all are
Mm.
saying no to rape, we should be saying no to the system and the culture that has built
Yes,
rapists.
yes,
Yeah, we
yes,
should be
yes.
saying that. I want to challenge women, if there's any woman watching this, to be responsible. In those days, if my mother sees a young girl wearing short dress, she will go and pull it down. She will do that. Right now, people see that and say, oh, not their own. You start grooming a child at the age of 2 or 3 to start wearing bomb shots, and it's
Mm.
bombing the mind and giving and shooting men dead. So it is fun for us, but however, we do not see that it has a systemic impact. Now, can we stop this totally? The answer is no. Can we
Mm-mm.
control it? The answer is yes. So I'm calling
Yes.
every father and every mother. Let's become more intentional. Let's become more deliberate. Let's become more involved. Let's be the one educating our children about sex. I was talking in a church someday, and someone came to teach before me, and she was teaching about fornication. And when she was teaching, the whole place was cold. She asked a question, nobody answers, because she was talking about fornication. And then my session was quite totally different. But when she finished teaching, they had some presentations, and she left. And I came up and I asked them, "You people are doing as though you don't know sex is sweet. Is sex not sweet?" They all said, "Yes." How did you guys know? And it was a whole different conversation altogether. Why? Because I also communicated in their language and told them my stories of how I failed. So we need to be more involved in the lives of our children. And like I said, we need to also create that environment. If we have not created that environment, then we have created the environment that allow vices to thrive.
Thank you so much,
Yeah,
TJ.
thank you very
Um,
much.
as we
Yeah,
begin to round up on the conversation, I would like to say something. In fact, TJ brought a very important part that was very key. We are locking our gates in the house. but who is teaching the children what to do online? And recently in the academy, we launched a course called Walking Your Child Through Puberty. Part of the modules in that course teaches porn education, teaches drug education, and teaches, so some of those things we are not conversing, we are not talking about it. And the children are assuming that they are okay. One of the things that actually triggered us to build that course was a case that we dealt with where a 13-year-old sent her nude picture to a boy and she was being blackmailed, a 13-year-old. Funny enough, when the 13-year-old was reached out to, had a conversation, she didn't understand the depth of what she did. So it means that there's a failure system, in the home. So it's easy to come out and say, oh, these children are doing this. What are we doing in the home? So 2 days ago, I was having a conversation with my son, and I think I shared it on my timeline on what I call the Mommy Chronicles. And I told him that I needed to read what he wrote on his diary. He said no, that I shouldn't. And he explained why he didn't want me to read it. And I said, okay, fine. If you going to, let that be. And then, I walked away and I started to think about it. When we teach our children consent, part of the things we do in the home front is also to tell them that consent has limitations. We are telling them that when people give you consent, you can force, when you have authority over them, you can force them out of the consent. So this is what happens in abnormal homes. The child says, okay, mom, I don't want to show you this thing. And you say, what do you mean? Who are you? Are you the one that gave birth to me? Or am I the one that gave birth to you? Give me that thing. You have modeled to that child that when not just authority, when someone is, in a place of where they can actually control you, then they have the power to be able to change things and force you to do them. As little as this looks, and as minute as it sounds, there is a modeling that goes into the process in the head of the child that says, yes, it's okay if I have the power to say no to this person, to say yes to this person, even when they say no, then I can do what I need to do. It is small. These enabling factors that we are talking about in the home are very little, but they are very, very key. So as we begin to round up, Ebuka, can you share with us? Can you give us your last words as regards these conversations?
Thank you very much. Thank you, TJ, for those for sharing your thoughts. Do you know that when Naira Marley released his song on Soapy, at that moment I handled more cases of sexual issues, from pornography to masturbation to all manner of terrible sexual issues. It triggered a lot in the heart of young people. And like you said, you see a lot of music videos that come out, and you know, I have to take my time to now go and download the lyrics of those of that song to listen, and it was terrible. It was practically telling them how they should have sex, how they should sleep with different girls, how they should do it, how it is good. Very dirty and terrible. And that song had millions of views on YouTube. But we didn't advocate that that was evil for our children. And we have a lot of them.
Challenge.
We were doing Soapy challenge and we were enjoying it. Some parents were even dancing. Some parents were dancing. You know, some parents were
with
dancing.
Their children.
Yes, with their children. They didn't even know that the Soapy dance is a masturbation dance, showing how to masturbate. So look, there's the crisis we are in. There's one of the celebrities that always carries a girls on chain, moving about, and people celebrate him and welcome him. What are you saying? That girls should be changed and moving about? And in some of their music videos, they always show you where girls, their bum is open, where they will be sleeping with the girl, and where the girl, and this is what is forming the mind of these boys. It took me a lot in that Soapy time to deal with issues, because those boys and girls were saying this thing we are triggering, you know, it was just triggering a lot of sexual issues in their mind. There was this sexual desire just growing and growing, and a lot was happening at that time. If we must win this war, we must need to legislate about that, about what musician sings, about what we play on our this thing. Countries that are serious about even legislate with what people bring to their web. We are not deliberate and intentional about that and want to deal with the matter from the leaf. We must deal with it from the root. What are our children watching? And that's why we say parents were enabling it. Parents will dance with them. Some parents will be twerking with their girls and showing them how to twerk and put on this social media, twerking all manner, teaching all manner, dirty things. So when we are not intentional about that, when that now happens, you don't know you're the one that's aided that child to immorality. You're the one that aided that child to that. So we need to be intentional and deal with this issue holistically. Lastly on that, I would say, in this time I've just been watching and listening. It's as if unconsciously we are promoting that girls should be naked. Is that what we are saying? That girls should now move naked. It's good. They can move naked. It's very good. When they are naked, nobody should stop them. Allow them to be naked. Is that what we are promoting? Unconsciously, we're also promoting that sex outside marriage is good as far as there is consent. Unconsciously, we are promoting, yes, you can have sex, you can do it as long as there's consent. Is that what we are saying? So we need to be careful what we say at this time. Are we even promoting that? Are we even giving thumbs up? Yes, you can do it, but don't do it with force. Is that what we are telling our young people to do? So this is what they're exposed to, and this is what they become. We need to be more intentional. Lastly, I want to really appreciate fathers that came to this, and I want to lastly say, please, fathers, pay attention to your boys. I'm troubled with the rate of sexual abuse I'm seeing among boys, because they keep telling you because they are boys. If it's a girl, some boys will tell me that time, if it's a girl, they used to be careful. They don't allow her go out. They're careful with the person they live out with. But me, they leave me to go anywhere. Say it's a boy now. Now boy you be, now a man. Nothing will happen. And boys are raped every day. You know the number of guys have cancer, they're already inclined to homosexuality, but their parents are not aware. They've been abused, they've been deformed. They can't even talk to their parents, because they feel boys can stay with anybody. Boys can stay with any house girl. You know the number of boys have been abused by housemaid, by older ladies. There's this culture of silence among boys. I know when boys begin to get sexually active, one thing for girls can easily show when they're sexually active. You begin to see them, the way they dress, they make up, they do a manner of things. It's easier to detect when a girl is beginning to miss it. But for the boys, by the time they become sexually active, they become more mature. You see them wearing good clothes
by then.
Because that thing is as if it fast forwards their age. So they become more mature, they're more quiet, they are not acting very well because they now feel they're a man. So when a boy is troubled sexually, you're not even aware. Say, my boy, my pastor. The number of boys have cancer that have this issue, if I mention to their parents, they will collapse. They may have to rush them to ICU because the cases are rotting, but parents have no idea. And they can't talk because there's no connection. When there's no connection, there is the pipe through which a child can attention to the issues our boys are going through. Let's look to know where they are going to, who is with them, which man is touching them, which gate man, which driver, which auntie, which nanny, because most of them grow up to be dysfunctional, to be toxic, to be violent because of the foundation and issues. I'm troubled with the cases I'm receiving. I wish parents will pay more attention to the boys also, to know that just as the girls, a lot is happening. That they are not talking doesn't mean it's not happening. Thank God for the law, the Child Rights Act and the VAP Act that is coming out to address those issues. Because even the law of rape does not protect the boys. It defines rape as having carnal knowledge of a gay penetrating. But now that Child Rights Act and the VAP Act is helping us to know that boys can be abused, even though some states have not domesticated it. So it's a challenge. So boys are growing with the culture that the society don't care about them. Nobody cares about their well-being. Nobody cares about how they feel. So they grow up having a toxic relationship and having a forceful aggression even to the society and to people because they feel there's nobody thinking about them. We need to change that if we must see a difference. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ebuka. That was, in fact, I felt like we shouldn't end. We should just continue listening to you. That was, I'm sure, the issues are so enormous. Even if we bring out 10 hours to talk about this, we're not going to end. That's the truth. Yesterday, Taiwo Akinlami was saying something about Naira Marley. And, a lot of people, got a little bit uncomfortable and say, you should not mention names and all that. I said, that's it. We're in denial of the effect of these things in our world.
Yeah.
We are still living in a
Yeah.
place where we're saying, ah, no, let's not talk about these things. No, it's going to be somehow. Are you kidding me? And we are enabling this thing every day. Yet we are shouting, say no to rape.
We are complaining.
Until we actually begin to undo some of these things internally, a lot of things are not going to change. So thank you so much. TJ, please, what are your last words to parents, fathers who are listening to you today at this conversation?
I would say two things. One, fathers, please get into communities of fathers who where you can share your issues, your challenges, and learn and get strength from. And if you are a father who is
Hello,
Okay,
TJ.
I guess TJ is frozen. I guess
Mm,
the I guess the network got him this time around.
yes.
So he's able
Very
to
true.
reconnect.
He was making a very critical point about fathers getting communities that will help them. There are so many communities that are also growing now for fathers, and I really encourage fathers to take advantage of it. Like we said, we have the Men Connect community, mentoring community. He talked about the one for fathers that have toddlers. There are a lot of communities where men can. I see it springing up now. So fathers, find out and enter and learn. And learn. So many fathers are not learning. We think we know, but we actually don't know. And we are in this crisis, we're in this mess because we've always thought we know. But we are coming to see now that we are having a dysfunctional society because we actually don't know. Look at the people at the top, look at our leaders at the top. We are crying, we are shouting, our leaders are this. About learning, about getting knowledge, about equipping ourselves with skills to become better fathers. I think that is very, very critical. And that can help us in relating with our children because you need skills in relating with especially boys. Boys are they are wonderful people. Some fathers have never read books even about growing up boys. There are books, a lot of books. There are so many. I have up to 10 books on boys and men. I discovered there are so many. We think there are no books. There are books. Read, read. We need better fathers than even better accountants. Some fathers are very good in their profession, good doctors, accountants, but not good fathers. When we have better fathers, it will even aid that. Lastly, I will say in the last election, some people were saying, we need one man of integrity. It will change the whole nation. Some people say, when we have one Christian at the top, everything will change. I say that is wonderful, but I have a better view. I think that if we have thousands of fathers who are intentional, who are deliberate about learning and building skills and becoming better men and leading well, we'll have a better society than having one leader at the top. So the major issue is not even the one leader at the top, is having healthy fathers and healthy families, thousands coming out to say we are standing. I'm telling you, make more impact than that one leader at the top. So it boils down to us taking responsibility for a change. I don't know if TJ is back. I was waiting for him.
Yeah,
All
so
right,
sorry, I
he's
was
back.
I saw the network again. Quickly, just two things. One, fathers, get into circle of fathers and grow with them. Please look for healthy circles. Not sometimes we find it hard talking where women are. So let's get to where men are and learn in those circles. If you're a father with a toddler, you can connect with our nursing fathers community. You will laugh, you will learn, and you will love your family much more. And the second thing I would say here is that fathers, please, one, be present. Two, be a presence. Three, in your children's present so that they have a secured future. Thank you very much, Wendy, and God bless every father and happy Father's Day tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to TJ and Ebuka. I'm going to say this. I heard that quote for the very first time. I thought I've studied a lot about Nelson Mandela, but yesterday night, while I was listening to Taiwo, he quoted Nelson Mandela again. And he said, Nelson Mandela said he was happy. He was a happy man being a father to nations. He said it's a joy to be a father to nations, but it's greater joy to be a father in the family. And that
Family.
greater joy is the one that he never had. I
Hmm.
want to tell you that there's a greater joy in being that father to your family, no matter what else it is. And yesterday he was reeling out men in high authority that when they were dying at their dying bed, that the news broadcasted and said, Muhammad Ali died with his children by his bedside. So person died with his children by his bedside. No matter what it is that you give to the world cannot be there all at once. It is still your family that will be there. And I will also go back to what Pastor Wisdom said on the first day. He said, if you do not build boys and women who are able to actually leave your legacy, when you become old, the decisions of what happens in your life will be in the hands of people that you have not been able to build well. Now, it has nothing to do with money. There are a lot of decisions. For instance, my father-in-law, I keep using him. He can do a lot of things financially on his own. Yet, decisions about his health, his movement, so many other things are being made continually by his children. Every day, every second. You need to think about it. Are you raising a child who will be able to actually deal with the decisions that would be favorable to you as a man when you are there? Are you raising a child that will just come and do anything to you at any time? The best thing you can do is to be that decent father. That's how Taiwakin Lami put it yesterday night. Become a decent father. That should be your goal. If you need to learn, please learn today. If you need to take courses, please do. There was Pastor Wisdom that said, I have taken courses, I have read books, I have done all manner. I know Pastor Wisdom personally. He runs one of the biggest men congregation in Port Harcourt. Yet, he is learning every second, every minute. I call on all the men that are here. These are all conversation starters. Please join learning communities. Please read books. Please begin to, add skills to your intentions. Nobody is ever going to judge you with your best intentions. People will judge you with the outcome of those intentions that you had. And every intention requires skills to be able to make it as powerful as it should be. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I am so honored to be convening the CIP Fathers Conference, which is the first of its kind in this year, and it's going to be an annual thing. So apart from the Intentional Parent Annual Conference, we've also added the Fathers Conference because we want the fathers to come out. We want them to speak up. We're going to see you again at 8 p.m. where we're going to be having Isaac Onoja. I don't think you want to miss it. Isaac Onoja is one of the most powerful people I've met talking about fatherhood. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, TJ.
Wendy, I want to say thank you to you. And I'm going to say thank you to you especially because for a woman to be calling out men, it's a sign that the women need the men.
Yes,
and that goes against the average narrative of women wanting to be alone, just lead and take over, and yada yada. So I want to celebrate you, Wendy, for taking this initiative. We have had a lot of fathers conference in silos here, but you have brought so many of us together. So I want to especially celebrate you, the female father of the day. And say thank you.
Female father of the year. Thank you, Wendy. When people ask me who Wendy is, I just say Wendy is a force, as in you're a force to reckon with. And our 1 million parenting group.
Okay, so I think Ebuka is gone. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay.
It's been an amazing time, everyone. Thank you. I'm so honored. I'm so honored to have everyone. Thank you. See you at 8 p.m. today. Thank you so much. And do have an amazing day. Don't forget, become intentional. Go and connect with that child. It doesn't take anything to connect with a child. See you and do have an amazing weekend.
Bye.